Good morning, it's me, Michelle, and I wanted to welcome you to 15 minutes of Unpacking Our Grief Part 4. I was having my coffee this morning and I wanted to show you this cup. It says the best therapist has fur and four legs. And those of you that know me know how I feel about my fur babies. And also you know how I feel about my coffee. So I'm thankful for both. They've gotten me through some rough days, let me tell you. But 15 minutes of unpacking our grief, if it's your first time just even listening to this conversation, is what it is. It is 15 minutes of conversation of me just sharing some of my grief experience and how I've coped and how I'm healing. Really, in a way, I'm just processing out loud. I chose 15 minutes because a friend of mine once said the mind can only comprehend what the seat can endure. So I'm hoping that in these 15 minutes, we may not go deep, but we will just be honest and real with you and just try to support you in your journey towards healing. I think grief can be a very lonely journey. A lot of it is because a lot of it is just things that we have to come to terms with on our own. You know, nobody can really walk that part of the journey out with us, things that we have to heal from on the inside on our own that no one else can do for us. So I'm hoping that through me sharing some of the things that I've dealt with and how I'm processing through that, hopefully it will be a benefit to you as well, and at least be a catalyst for you to start your own journey of healing, because I do know from experience that you can get stuck in your grief, and your life can be diminished by it, and your emotions, you can become debilitated by it if you don't start that process of healing. So I'm hoping this time will be supportive and will just be beneficial to you. I want to thank you for taking the time to listen. I was thinking about, well, those of you that know me know that I lost my husband 8 months ago. And I started writing a blog, sittingwiththelord.com, and my reason for writing it really was just to process aloud and to just talk myself through my healing journey and to encourage myself. And I started blogging about it just in hopes that it will also encourage and support others. But sometimes I'll go back and read through them just to see. It just provides me hope and encouragement and some motivation to just help me get through this next part of the journey. And sometimes some of those feelings and emotions and thoughts, they're reoccurring, and even though I may have thought I processed through them, sometimes they'll come back up, and it just helps me to have in writing how I process through it at the moment, so that I can hopefully get through it again. So I was reading one of my blogs, and it was, I think I titled it, "Did I Do Enough?" And I wanted to talk to you just about regrets and self-compassion today. Regrets are part of the grief journey. I mean, it's just inevitable that we're going to think, you know, should I have done this? Should we have done that? Did I tell them enough how much they meant to me and how much they loved me? Did I do certain things right? There may be events that maybe you felt you didn't handle the best that you could have for your loved one, but you did the best that you knew to do. And so regrets are just a part of the journey. And I know, I mean, I have a lot of regrets about our journey with Stephen's cancer and things. I mean, I was his caretaker, and he used to always thank me for being his caretaker, and I would tell him, I was like, it's my privilege. I know you would do this and so much more for me. So it really was not a burden. I can truly say that. But I will say that there were times where I was just fatigued and emotionally drained and tired on my own, that maybe I may have felt like I didn't give it my best shot, you know, that day, or do my best in that moment. And one of the regrets that I've thought about over and over again is just how we handled his diagnosis. A lot of times you wonder, especially when we chose to go the chemo route. I mean, the doctor gave us just two options really: either do the treatment and do the chemo, or just not do anything and just really preserve his quality of life, and instead of putting him through all of the treatments and everything. Well, Stephen and I knew from day one that we were gonna fight it to the end, and that's what we did. And but I do have regrets sometimes, just when I think about the how the chemo affected his body, and just when I saw how much it debilitated him. I mean, I think I've mentioned on one previous session of Unpacking Our Grief, I think I talked about just the toll that the treatments and the cancer had on him. I mean, he lost a lot of weight. Of course, he lost his appetite. We hear about that a lot for people that are going through chemo. And he just became so weak at times. And so, one of my thoughts have been, should we have done that chemo? And should we have just not done that and maybe tried something else? They were open to let us try whatever we wanted. And so I do have some regrets sometimes. Just, should we have not even bothered, so that he wouldn't have become so weak and, like I said, so emaciated from the chemo treatment. And those thoughts come up from time to time. But I will say, my husband, man, he was stubborn, but that stubbornness served him well in our fight with cancer. I mean, he like I said, he went as long as he could go, and he just walked that journey like a soldier. I mean, he was just so gracious, and so his faith was like off the charts through the whole thing. And so, when I have those regrets, I have to remember just the man that he was and who he was, and mainly what he wanted to do. I mean, we had lots of people telling us things, that we could try and we could do. And Stephen was very resolute in how he wanted to deal with things, and of course I'm in my support of him and my love for him. I'm right there with them all the way. Like, honey, if this is the way you want to do it, then I'm right there with you. We'll do it this way. And so I do know, and it just did our hearts good to know. And this helps me in my regret. We did get a second opinion. My sister and brother-in-law helped us to get in to see a specialist in the field of his type of cancer. He had a very rare type of cancer, and there wasn't a whole lot of treatment out there for it. So we did see a specialist who just broke it down and explained it to us, and just reassured us that we were getting the best treatment and we had chosen the best route for him. So when those regrets come up, I just at least have that to fall back on, that, we really did the best that we knew to do. And I believe that God honored that. And I believe, that I don't think Stephen would have wanted to do any other way. And I know he would not want me to have regrets about anything dealing with his illness. I know he wouldn't want my thoughts to hinder me from being able to heal and to be motivated to move on. I know he told me many times, honey, you go ahead and have a good life. And so I know, that was his wish and his desire for me. So I often remember those words that help me in my when I have those regrets. And I just want to say to you, when those regrets come up, just think about what your loved one would want for your life, going forward. I know that they wouldn't want anything that happened to them or that they did to stop you from being the best that you can be. And they wouldn't want you to not have just the best life. And so that helps, you know. They wouldn't want to think that anything that had to do with them would still be hurting you after they're gone. They would want for you to remember the memories of their love and the love that you shared, whether it's your parents, your husband, your children, an aunt, an uncle, a brother, or sister. They would want you to remember, you know, the good times that you shared together. So that has helped me to cope with my thoughts of regret, you know. Another regret that I have is, you know, did I do enough? There's always things that you can think of that you should have done better or you could have done better. You know, we're human. We don't always get it right, and even though we were in it together, there are just times where I think, well, you know, maybe I shouldn't have. We shouldn't have gone the. We ended up with hospice, and I would say hospice was wonderful to us. But of course, you know, I was thinking maybe sometimes I think maybe we shouldn't have entered hospice as soon as we did. Maybe we should have stayed in treatment longer. You know, I don't know if you know about the kind of conversations that they have with you when they feel like there's not a whole lot more that they can do. And so then they want to just talk to you about just, you know, making them as comfortable and making the rest of the journey as easy on them as possible. And so our last time out of the hospital, they did release us to hospice. But I mean, we had the option to continue treatment and to just keep trying. And Stephen didn't want to. And one thing I always tell people is, you know, he wasn't afraid to die. He knew his ultimate destination was to go and be with the Lord. So he didn't want to keep going through the treatment. He really wanted to try to just live out the rest of his life in peace and, you know, out of pain. And so we released to hospice. And like I said, they were wonderful. They were at the house all the time, just the most supportive care. But I still have regrets sometimes. Should we have kept on fighting, or, you know, should we have continued treatment or tried something else? And I remember, you know, we thought about even going to Duke. One of our family members mentioned going to Duke, and we thought about trying to go to Duke, but Stephen just was very adamant that he didn't want to. And you know, a lot of I for you, we have to just go along with what our loved ones want. You know, we may want something different for them, or we may want to try something different, but we really do have to listen to them and go along with what they want. I think there's some peace in that for me now. Just remembering that we did it his way, you know. And if you know him, that's how he was going to do it. He was going to do it his way. He used to tell me that all the time because he had some quirky ways. And when I would say something about one of his quirky ways, he even told me this one night when the hospice nurse was here. He said, "Michelle, you've been married to me for 19 years. You should know by now when I make up my mind, I'm not going to change it." And the nurse and I were trying to persuade him to just go in and get some care for an issue he was having. And he was like, "Nope, not going anywhere." And it was really nothing that we could do. It was up to him. And so, you know, that kind of brings me, you see the smile on my face, that kind of brings me some peace too when I have those regrets. So I hope that, you know, as the regrets come up, because they will, that you will remember what your loved one would want for your life and what your loved one would want your life to be like. They would want you to be happy again. They would want you to find peace again. they would want you to, they would want nothing that happened to them to be an issue for you going forward. And I know that's a process. I'm still on that journey of healing, but I think you can get there too. So I see I have used up my 15 minutes. I hope this has been helpful for you. I just know that you can make it, and I want you to know that I'm praying for you. And I'm going to take a few more seconds just to talk about something that I have coming up that I hope will be additional support for you. I'm going to put it in the comments, put the details in the comments under this particular session on Facebook. But I feel really led to do a grief talk session on Zoom. I have three of just people that I feel have been very supportive of me on my journey, either through something they've shared in writing or through just being there and words of encouragement. So I wanted them to be able to share with you. So we're going to do a grief talk session on Saturday morning, June 20th at 9 o'clock. I know it's a little early, but I wanted to go ahead and do it early so everybody can go about their day. So if you would join us, I will post the link to join that session of Grief Talk. And if you're not currently on a grief journey, then if you want to just share it with someone else, anyone's welcome to join us. I mean, I can have several people in that Zoom session. So I hope you'll join us. I have a special surprise at the end of that session for you, special guest. So hopefully I'll see you there. Okay? Well, God bless you. Again, I'm praying for you, and you can make it.